Thank you, Mr. Israel.
Right.
Dr. Lucas, would you like me to go ahead and kick us off?
Yes, indeed.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Tracy. I am our Chief Academic Officer here with Richmond Public Schools, and I just wanted to welcome you all this morning, say good morning, and I've been looking forward to this, not just all week, but really all year. This has been quite a process in the making, and I want to give just a full heartfelt thank you and shout out to Dr. Lucas for her vision for this program, for her sense of possibility and bringing the idea and power of policy to our students. I want to thank our teachers, Ms. Waltman King, Mr. Thomas, Dr. Coleman, Mr. Ingold for piloting this program. You all took this and really worked together to make this run. And Mr. Israel pulling together our social sciences department and integrating our Real Richmond course. I want to say thank you. Um, and our honorable board members, Ms. Page, your commitment to policy pathways, and Ms. Burke. We are just, and so many more. And again, students, thank you for taking on a new, exciting program. You all are trailblazers. You all are doing something new for the first time here in Richmond. And as a result of your work, you are going to create the path for your peers to follow. So a big congratulations to you. I'll keep this really short and just say, we could not be more excited and more grateful here in Richmond for policy pathways and the opportunity it gives our students to really have a voice and shape the future of our world. We are looking to you to make sure that our world is better than it's ever been. And we are looking forward to scaling this program. Again, grateful for the partnership with Dr. Lucas, Dr. Bowers, and all of the board members at Policy Pathways. Richmond Public Schools is committed to this program, and we cannot wait to see all the great work our students are going to show us today. So thank you so much and good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Epp. Good morning, Secretary Quarney, Superintendent Cameras, the Honorable Cheryl Burke, distinguished guests, our students, their families, colleagues, and friends. On behalf of the Policy Pathways Board of Directors, our committee members, and our administrative staff, I would like to thank all of you for joining us today for the 2021 RPS Virtual Capstone Showcase. We're looking forward to many more showcases. It has been wonderful working with the Real Richmond team, with Masiahu. It's just been a great partnership. And also, we are just honored to be able to partner with the Richmond Public Schools in the provision of equitable access to high quality policy education. Through our Policy and Society College Preparatory Program, Policy Pathways provides college prep curriculum to college-bound and non-college bound high school students. Our curriculum covers 5 core areas of study: critical thinking, policy formation, policy analysis, advocacy and persuasion, and the Capstone project. This semester, our students were exposed to real-world policy issues and problems. They range from radical self-care to the power of youth activism, from voter suppression to the wealth gap, from immigration policy to the law and structural racism, from research methods and statistics to to climate change and food insecurity. Our course content was delivered not only by outstanding RPS teachers, but also by an internationally diverse teaching staff that came from across the United States and around the world. They came from Oakland, California, Venezuela, New York City, Lebanon, Ghana, Richmond, Virginia, Uruguay, and the Dominican Republic. Our curriculum aligns with the Virginia SOL assessments, and our curriculum also helps to build the 5 skills that students who graduate from high school are expected to have mastered. They are critical thinking, creative thinking, collaboration, communication, and citizenship. So finally, I would like to thank Superintendent Cameras, Dr. Tracy Epp, Ms. Candice Vini Chaplin, Mr. Masiyahu Israel, Dr. Mylandra Coleman, Mr. Wayne Thomas, all of the awesome students in our Policy Pathways course, and our partners and sponsors for helping to make this semester a success. Thank you so much. And it's just wonderful having you here today. I'll now turn it over to the Honorable Cheryl Burke.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Lucas, and good morning, everyone. It's a great day in the city of Richmond. It's a great day in Richmond Public Schools. Again, my name is Cheryl L. Burke, and I am the chair of Richmond Public Schools School Board, and I represent the East End, the 7th District of the school board as well. I am so delighted to be a part of this program this morning. Thank you. I would not have missed it for the world, whether you invited me or not, but you did, so I'm extra blessed. This partnership with Real Richmond and Policy Pathways is so needed. And I'm just so appreciative that this partnership is in place now. I know this is the first, as Dr. Lucas stated, of many more Capstone or however the showcases continue. Because until we know our history, we cannot succeed as we should, and then some. So thank you for the vision, Dr. Lucas, your board, your staff, Mr. Israel. I think you're just fantastic. So happy you're a part of Richmond Public Schools. And thank you to Secretary Kwani, who always puts children first. He gets it. To all of our distinguished guests, thank you so much. Mr. Cameras, Superintendent Cameras, Dr. Epp, the vision is there, the support is there, and I appreciate your moving forward before so much was brought to our attention across the world. You all had the vision beforehand. We've talked about it in the past, but you made it happen through the partnership with Policy Pathways. And I am forever excited and thankful for that. I know that we're in for a treat today, hearing from our amazing students. As we know, our children will lead us, just give them the opportunity. I am so delighted that this is the result of exploration, research on Richmond's residents, historic and cultural events, social justice, policy formation, and so much more. I cannot wait. Thank you to our fabulous students. Thank you to their parents, their family members, teachers, support persons, specialists. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Continue to teach us because there's so much that's not written. So you are making history. This is a historic event. Again, Dr. Lucas, we thank you. And to our wonderful superintendent, you will hear from him next. Mr. Cameras, it's all yours. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mrs. Burke. Can we give it up for Mrs. Burke, our amazing school board chair? Come on. You can take yourself off mute. You can cheer. It's early in the morning. We gotta get some energy going.
That's my school board member.
There you go. Well, I just want to echo everything Mrs. Burke and Dr. Lucas and Dr. Epp have said. Big shout out to Dr. Lucas. She may be a quiet leader, but she is a force of nature, which brings so much passion and energy to our children here in Richmond. So thank you, Dr. Lucas, for your leadership, for making all this happen. Mr. Is, your leadership as well in developing the Real Richmond course and leading on so many different things. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Dr. Epp, as well. Certainly to our students, can't wait to see everything that you have worked on and learned about and advocated for. This is exactly the kind of learning that we aspire to in RPS, putting learning into action. So can't wait. And last but certainly not least, it gives me a great pleasure to introduce our Secretary of Education, Secretary Atif Carney. I think most folks know a fair amount about Secretary Carney, but he most recently has been a teacher. He taught at Bevel Middle School in Prince William County, civics, economics, US history, math. So he's got lots of different areas of expertise. He was also recognized as the Dale City Teacher of the Year. He's also a former sergeant in the US Marine Corps and was deployed in Iraq in 2003 to Operation Iraqi Freedom. He's held a number of state appointments, and he has his bachelor's in sociology from George Washington University and his master's in history and teaching from George Mason University. So I also want to note Secretary Carney is a RPS parent and a great friend to RPS, to me personally, and to all schools in the Commonwealth of Virginia. I am very proud and honored to introduce Secretary Atif Carney.
Well, good morning, Dr. Cameron. Thank you so much for the kind introduction. It's great to see all the great looking people and smiles here in Richmond. When people ask me, where the best looking people live, I said, I definitely tell them it's around Richmond, and always great to be here with Chair Burke, and just love your smile and energy every time I see you. So thank you for the school board, and thank you, Dr. Cameron, to you and your team for supporting Policy Pathways. And Dr. Lucas, thank you so much for your leadership. I know that you laid out a strong vision a few years ago, and you've been really implementing it and executing it, and really mentoring our young people. And again, congratulations to all of the young people or students. You are our leaders of today and tomorrow, and just really appreciate this opportunity to be here today with everyone to showcase the Capstone project that you all have been working on and spotlight the outstanding work of our students. It's a great pleasure and honor to be here today. And as I understand, these two courses that Policy Pathways designed is where students learned about the history of local residents and the historical and cultural events and organizations, and then utilize that to focus on current and future policies. And this is a great model, which I can definitely see being scaled and applied across the state. So it's a great model. So big kudos to Policy Pathways. I know the goal is to really work with our young people to address the inequities and injustices in our society, fighting for justice, embracing the value of diversity, striving to be inclusive, and investing in advancing equity has been at the heart of the work of the Northam administration the past 3.5 years. We have taken bold steps to address systemic inequities throughout the education continuum, from cradle to classroom to career. In early childhood, for example, which was a big priority for Governor Northam since day one, we realized that 90% of the brain development occurs before the age of 5. So to ensure that every child is kindergarten ready, we have invested a lot in this space. Just this year, we restored $55 million in new state funding. And over the past year, in addition to the $55 million, we've also invested $300 million in federal funding to initiatives focused on increasing quality, access, and affordability for early childhood education. In our K-12 settings, we are definitely transitioning from a culture of high stakes testing to a culture focused on deeper learning. We have placed a strong emphasis on addressing basic needs of our students, things like mental health and physical health, but also food insecurities. Hungry students cannot learn effectively, so we have steadily increased funding to our school meals programs. I know Richmond is a leading example of that and has been for a long time, so thank you for doing that. And also we realize that when students are dealing with trauma at home or struggling through a mental health crisis, their classes are the last thing on their minds. We saw that school counselors were unable to spend a lot of time face-to-face with students due to high caseloads and a lot of administrative work. So we allocated funding to reduce the student to school counselor ratio, improving counselors' capacity to meet the needs of our students. Additionally, one thing I'm really, really proud of is the Governor's Commission on African American History Education, which worked tirelessly from 2019 to 2020 to reimagine how we teach African American history in Virginia classrooms. As a matter of fact, tomorrow, the governor is going to sign a historic piece of legislation which will allocate funding towards ensuring that every Virginia educator receives robust professional development and culturally responsive pedagogy, and all of our social science educators have the training they need to teach African American history with sensitivity and confidence. And we've championed legislation to codify STEM Education Advisory Board, which will seek to unify STEM efforts throughout the Commonwealth in order to ensure all students have equitable access to high quality STEM education. I can go on and on and on about our accomplishments. And while these achievements are great, and it's been a team effort working together, both with the local localities and the state, we have to continue to disrupt systems of oppression. Inequities run deep in our society. They still permeate all over our society. And it can be really disheartening at times, but together I believe that we can continue to make progress towards a more just and equitable and inclusive society. Young students, you really are the ones who are going to fight for justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. You're really the Jedi warriors of today and tomorrow. And as young leaders, we're part of this policy pathway program. I really want to speak to you today. Please remember that as you fight for justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, there will be those who do not agree with you and will stand in your way. And to overcome this type of resistance, I encourage you to look in the past and learn from the giants and heroes of the past who went before us and made a way for the change that we're pursuing now. I say this as a lesson for not only for you, but also as a reminder to myself. I want to share something personal. A few weeks back, I was really feeling deflated and beaten down by people who were not happy with some of the changes we're enacting to make our education system more equitable. That rough day also happened to coincide with the 70th anniversary of civil rights hero Barbara John's leading the Moton student strike, an action that ultimately led to the end of school segregation. That day I was visiting the Moton Museum in Farmville, Virginia, where we were about to unveil a historical marker dedicated to Barbara Johns. This was a part of a contest that we did where students actually came up with the idea for the historical marker. Before we unveiled the marker, I walked through the museum and it suddenly dawned upon me that who am I with my privileged life and the great ability to enact change to allow some people who disagree with me to taint my hope. As I walked through the museum, I was reminded of this young teenager who took on the entire world so she and her peers could have a better education. These heroes of the past serve as an inspiration to us and remind us that people had it far worse than we do, but they overcame and moved mountains. So as young leaders in policy pathways, you will go on to do great things in your life as you're motivated to improve society and have great mentors who support you. When you're feeling down and are feeling like there is resistance to your work, just remember heroes of the past, like Barbara Johns. If they found a way, so will you, so will I. We all need to speak up for those who cannot fend for themselves in order to improve our society, in order for us to have a great society. We really need a society where all cultures and backgrounds are valued. We need a society where expectations are not different for people because of the color of their skin. We need a society where systemic racism, sexism, and other isms just don't exist anymore. We need a society where all minds are finally rid of implicit biases, microaggressions, and outright racism. And education at its best teaches children that they have the power to leave the world a better place. Policy pathways embodies the very best of education in this way. This young people or students, you are our hope. That's why we invest time in you. That's why we want to work with you. You do not have to settle for a society you have inherited. You can teach us, you can teach your peers and your future children how the world really should be. So please continue to learn from yesterday's leaders, because they really have left us for today in the present, a real present. The struggles of the past are lessons to shape brighter future. And I have faith that young people like you will shape a spectacular tomorrow. Again, congratulations on this Capstone project, and thank you so much for allowing me to be part of this very special day.
Masiahu, we are turning
Yes.
the mic over to you.
All right. And so it looks good that we're ahead of schedule, looking good. So I'll just take a few minutes and then turn it back over. So I want to talk briefly, and good morning to everyone, all of our dignitaries and honorable partners in this work, leadership of RPS, of policy pathways, of our state government and education, to our, our wonderful and amazing students. I mean, this is big. And so I want to just take a little bit of time to walk you through how we got to this place from the perspective of Real Richmond. So policy pathways, of course, is an organization, educational organization that has been helping students not only across the Commonwealth, but across the United States to be able to really look at the power of policy and how students can have not only an understanding of policy, but be able to impact it by critical thinking, and through their learning, be able to create ideas to be able to foster a better future. Well, for the Real Richmond course, it was developed completely right here in Richmond Public Schools. I'd like to shout out our founding curriculum writers for taking a part in that, Mr. Nick Bergenheimer, Ms. Sarah Waltman King, Ms. Tiffany Sneed, Ms. Megan Reimer. These folks got together with me and with community partners from around the city. We partner with professors from Virginia Commonwealth University, from University of Richmond, with community activists, folks like author and local historian Ben Campbell, Janine Bell and the Alegba Folklore Society. I mean, so many partnerships and folks who came together as a part of this process. So when I was introduced to Dr. Lucas, and she told me about this capstone that the policy pathway students would be doing, I said, you know what, I would love to have something like this for our Real Richmond students, to be able to have access, networking opportunities, and to be able to display, some of the work that they've been doing and some of their thinking. And so Dr. Lucas was, a very honorable in allowing me to, reach for that goal, and allowing me to be able to merge in the Real Richmond course into the policy pathway capstone. So I want to show you a little bit about the Real Richmond course. I'm going to take over the screen really quickly, and I just want to show you a little bit about Real Richmond. So here you see the capstone rubric, which was adapted from the rubric from Policy Pathways, and we made it focused specifically on history content. So you can sort of see what students have been thinking about: problem statements, a thesis or essential question, dealing with historical context, which is so important, still wanting to look at foundations in law, politics, and power, historical analysis, community and societal implications, recommendations, references, and presentation. And one of the things I want to say about that is that our students were using Turabian Chicago formatting in order to do their research. And so they should be commended for that, because that's preparing them for being historians. Now, let's go back real quick. I hope everyone can see the screen to show you about the Real Richmond course. If I can get a thumbs up from someone just to make sure we see. Can you see that? Okay, very good. So the Real Richmond course was developed out of an idea that Mr. Cameras had, that he wanted for, the teaching of this quote unvarnished history of Richmond. Now, we had a course that we were already developing for K-5 where it was called Virginia Heroes, where we're going to really highlight marginalized voices in the history of Virginia, which was to be offered for our fifth graders. And so when this came about, it was awesome, because Ms. Reimer, she was a part of helping us create Virginia Heroes. And so, of course, I pulled her in as a part of working on the ideas here. And so the Real Richmond course is really like the this golden standard, if you will, for what our students will start in elementary school and work towards as they become juniors and seniors. Okay, so this is a Real Richmond history. Now, of course, we call it real because I coined this terminology. As a historian, you have people talking about hard history and different forms of history. And so I wanted something to be, this history to be real. I wanted to really hit at the core of Richmond. And so it's to be relevant and engaging and active and living. So the course was created to be done in person, where students would travel around the city and be able to see the history live. Of course, we never prepared for COVID, and we had no idea that we would be teaching the course 100% virtually. So our curriculum writers, along with our teachers for the course, we're just so willing to go ahead and make this adaptation. And so we started to do it in an online format. Now, the Real Richmond history course is built upon this goal of reconciling an accurate narrative of Richmond history with the hearts and minds of students who may have acquired a less transparently full understanding of the city of their birth or residence. And so the course is going to really put an emphasis on innovative pedagogy, meaning how do we get students to really take part in their own learning, get them excited about learning about their city. And we didn't want to do the traditional, and many of our teachers in the history program are using technology, taking students places, like our teachers like Ms. Waltman King and Mr. Engel. They've been doing this kind of work anyway, taking students down to Monument Avenue, reimagining the statues there. All of that kind of work is something that's normally done. But we definitely didn't want the humdrum Bueller kind of approach to history, the sit and get, those kinds of things. And so this course is to really be, again, that standard, so that we can start adapting other courses to this kind of teaching, not leaving it up to the individual teacher to be moved to move into different forms of pedagogy, but to really have that exemplar and to build it into the curricula. And so I'm so excited that the Virginia Department of Education is working now on creating thematic ways to explore the history. So this is important. This is key to understanding Real Richmond. You'll see that in the curriculum, there are these theme buckets, right? So this slide deck is going to give you an overview of some of these theme buckets. So students will be covering the course in themes. But another piece that I want you to understand is that there's this undergirding in all of Richmond history of racism and justice. And these forces are pushing and pulling against each one of these themes in Richmond history. And so, you know, racism can't be encapsulated in just a theme bucket. It's influencing things from the very beginning. Justice can't be captured in a theme bucket. It's something that's been happening since the beginning. And so as these themes, these forces are pushing against these themes, we wanted students to be able to realize the weight of these, right, in looking at the themes. Now, these are just examples. So in other words, this is an exploratory course and an inquiry course. So this isn't something to say, oh, well, they're missing this part or they didn't cover this particular part of the history. No, no, no. We realized that we could never cover all of the history of Richmond in one course, but we want to just have some touch points. But students are able to break out from these themes and go after things which really interest them. So we have a theme of physical and human geography. And that's important to understand, not just, you know, the physical locations, but how human beings are interacting with the geography. Family and lineage. And I want to just real quick tell you, we brought in Dr. Gina Page from African Ancestry to talk to our students. And it's so powerful, the kinds of connections and community partners that come to work with our students. Dr. Page talked about how with African-American people, their history has been scattered, you know, throughout the Middle Passage and here in the Americas, but through the science of DNA today, we're able to pull together this history for our students today. And so she spoke with our students, helping them there. We also had Dr. Afia and Billy Shaka come out and speak to our students. She is the founder of Psychotherapy. She's a licensed a cosmetologist, beautician, and also a licensed psychologist. And she merged the two together because she realized in the Black community that we respect our hairdressers, the folks who take care of us, and we really unload a lot of our trauma and experiences there. So she said, what if a trained psychologist could also work in capacity as someone who helped people to understand identity through beautification? And she came and talked to our students about that. So not only are students just studying with their teachers, but we're bringing in outside supporters to help them through this process. Religion and spirituality, which has had such an impact on our city, is another theme. Action and reaction, the people's struggle. And so we look at the works of folks like Brian Doherty, Dr. Brian Doherty from VCU, who wrote the book Keep On Keeping On, and who keeps us in tune with the fight for freedom and liberation when it came to education. We talk about some of the massive resistant movements here in Richmond, the things that happened with the 34 and down at the Woolworths and different points of history. Economics, technology, and industry. Of course, there are many things that folks don't know about Richmond, just about its guano production, one of the great guano producers for the nation. Fine arts, music, and literature. We all know about the wonderful music and the Harlem of the South and Jackson Ward and all of the other beautiful things that take place in the city. Education, law, politics, and power. And then the forging and reforging of identity, which is the final theme, where we're attempting to help students understand who they are by covering the course. And let me say, I want to shout out Dr. Sisha Moon, who works also with the Jackson Project, who came in as our research specialist to help our students work through the process of researching. And so during this entire process, we've been really able to work with the community, Janine Bell and Tamara Copeland, so many folks that we will have on our website, growhistoryrps.com, and you'll be able to look at that going forward. All of these themes at the very end culminate in a capstone project, which is agency driven, and that's where we are today. So I want to show you a little bit about the Real Richmond course, how it was developed. It's homegrown, and it's something that we continue to work on and develop. And of course, here's some of the text that we use for the course, required reading for our students and for our teachers. And we wanted students to really be able to dig into some of the history that many of them may not know. So I wanted to share that with you, just a little bit about that today. Thank you for affording me the opportunity to talk about that. So I'm so excited in the partnership. I'm so excited in what our students will be presenting today. I'm so excited for Richmond Public Schools, the potential that we have to really utilize history and social science to break barriers, to prepare students at the youngest ages for critical thinking, for collaboration, for creativity, because history, as I always say, it's not just a course in grade school, but it's the ground zero for critical thinking and historical analysis that can lead to the answers of some of life's most challenging problems. Thank you so much. Turn it back over to you, Dr. Lucas. And yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. We will now start our capstone showcase. First up is Miss Sarah Waltman King of John Marshall High School. She will introduce her student.
Thank you so much. It is an honor to be here this morning. I am super excited to introduce to you Lamarian Eubanks. He and all of the Real Richmond students have done such a phenomenal job this semester. It's made me emotional, I won't lie, at several points of the semester, how they literally just stepped up to every challenge of primary sources and skills, and last but not least, this research. And so Lamarian has just been this quiet force who has taken every challenge on and has thrived every step of the way. And so Lamarian, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm going to start sharing. All right. Lamarian, it's all you.
Hello, my name is Lamarian Eubanks. I'm a 10th grade in John Marshall High School. My project today is about how Black gospel music affected churches during Jim Crow in America. First, historical context. Spirituals are the roots of African American gospel music, and they go as far back as America had slaves. Music can help people persevere during times like Jim Crow. When the American slave trade was still legal, Black slaves would sing songs while they worked, just like sailors at the time. This motivated them to keep working. It made the slaves feel like there's hope down the dark tunnel. After the emancipation of enslaved Africans, Jim Crow refiguration itself between the end of Reconstruction and the Civil Rights Movement. White freedom is actually the Black population to move or live in the ghettos. They limited both things, big and small, by forcing new laws that would take away the rights of Blacks in America. My research on how the church can help. John Jasper was once a slave, but following the Civil War became a preacher and started his own church. Jasper founded the Six Mount Zion Baptist Church in Richmond, which by 1887 had attracted 2,500 members. It served as a religious and social center of Richmond's predominantly Black Jackson Ward, providing a Sunday school and other services. He often taught at the Third Baptist Church, the church in other parts of Jackson Ward was threatened to be torn down by the interstate. Benjamin Ross, among others, used gospel music to help others in this situation. Benjamin used a radio station and gospel music to save his church from city planners who wanted to build a highway through it. Benjamin Ross using gospel music to this as motivation and help the community combat the interstate by getting more people into the church. The history of the church in Richmond. The church stayed by Benjamin was Third Street Church. The church taught lessons in hardship, businesses, relationships, and most importantly, faith. The church was founded in 1828. In 1867, James Hall was the first African American pastor in Third Street AME Church. The property was sold to him for $1. The church also held important meetings like one is National Convention of Baptists. Thanks to gospel music and the use of radio in 1975, Third Street Bethel became the first Black church in Richmond to be designated as a historical location in Richmond. Black gospel mixed with other genres. Richmond in places like Chicago, that the people like Miss Rosette, who was the mother of rock and roll, with the gospel was church today. The started a new genre. She made gospel and the electric guitar pretty popular. Miss Rosetta was such a great player that she could play better than any man at the time. Things she did inspired a lot of big stars like Elvis. But of course, as time keep marching on, people decided to mix their favorite things together. That's how we get things like soul, blues, and rock and roll. Gospel music in its history of Black creators. Gospel music changed over the course of America's history. Musicians like Yolanda Adams and the Clark sisters, and dual gospel singers, legendary Greta Meadows, and on the network of Black record shops such as OCAD Music Store and Jackson Ward, churches and businesses that help nurture the music. Over time, you can see music being recorded, influencing rhythm, blues, funk, and hip hop. The gospel music being played out not only influenced different types of music, but also different movements, such as the Black Power movement. My reflection. Music helped Black churches in many ways during Jim Crow. Starting from spirituals during the days of American slavery, it's turned into the roots of Black gospel. The slavery ended with the 13th Amendment. These spirituals moved to Black churches and were used to help Black people get through times like Jim Crow. The laws in the South forced Black people to move to the North and West into places like Chicago. During this time, people turned to music to cheer them up and lift their spirits. Music was used as a form of resistance to the laws put on Black people during Jim Crow. Gospel music also influenced other genres of music such as blues, soul, rock and roll, all types of stuff. In conclusion, music helped a group of people during a time of lots of struggles evolve into something that had a great impact on American culture.
Thank you, Lamarion.
Yes, let's give Lamarion a hand, everyone. That was outstanding. Wonderful. Thank you, Ms. Waltman King, for your leadership and for your encouragement. Thank you for your dedication. Up next, we have Mr. Wayne Thomas. He is a teacher at George Wythe High School.
Good morning to everyone. I'm Wayne Thomas, the Shaping Our Future Policy Pathways teacher at George Wythe High School. We have two teams of students who will share their capstone projects today that will focus on international research and the impact of climate change and the use of climate information. This school year, our students face many different challenges, such as adapting to a new learning environment, new class schedules, and of course, the COVID-19 restrictions. However, they were able to adjust their asynchronous class periods to work with and learn from university scholars and experts from around the country and from different parts of the world. This type of interaction provided our students with opportunities to engage with our invited guest speakers, to ask questions and to investigate topics, to find and offer specific solutions using climate information and to address problems caused by climate change. Our first capstone team will focus on the country of Ghana. And I'm going to share my screen now. And I'll turn it over to the Ghana team.
Good morning. I am Amaya Horton. I am a senior at George Wythe High School. Our capstone project focuses on climate change and the restoration of depleted forests to build food security in Ghana. The team members are Amaya Horton, Leslie Flores, Trinity Waters, Adrian Penzon, Alondre Taylor, and Ateria Turner. The Center for Women and Food Security in Ghana is our capstone project, where Kamasa Azami is the founder and executive director. Our sponsor is the Links Incorporated Commonwealth Virginia Chapter International Trends and Food Services Faucet Life's program.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Problem statement. The climate change and illegal logging and mining are contributing to the water crisis and raise the poverty, hunger levels in rural Ghana.
Amaya, if you could read this, I'm not sure if Leslie is here.
No problem. Our capstone project focuses on Ghana. The country has a population of 25.5 million people who speak English and other African languages. Gold, cocoa, and oil are the main products of Ghana's economy. Over half of Ghana's population in rural centers, while 42% lives in rural areas.
Adrian?
Climate changes and the forest and rural women farmers food industry property level in Ghana. Wait. So you wanted me to read these three, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Climate changes and deforestation, rural women farmers, food industry and property levels. Food insecurities.
The United States Agency for International Development leads a program called Feed the Future to help vulnerable women, children, and family members, mostly farmers, escape hunger and poverty. The goals are to increase agricultural productivity and decrease hunger and poverty. Laws in Ghana regulate to environment and overseas forest policies. However, illegal logging, corruption, and weak enforcement of forest and environmental laws serves as barriers.
Amaya, could you continue? I think Leslie having technical issues.
Okay. I need the next slide. Thank you. This semester, we worked with the Center for Women and Food Security Ghana in Sunye. The organization educates and empowers rural women farmers. The organization aims to reduce the food security and poverty in rural Ghana. We recommend the creation of more empowerment programs to help women farmers in rural Ghana. We believe that the opinions of rural women should be included in the policy decision making. Corruption should be fought to improve the management of natural resources. Funding is the most relevant need. Barriers to financing should be
Did we lose you? Okay.
shared with us that tackling the gender gap at the intersection of food production, land use, and the restoration of depleted forests to achieve food security are important. Thank you for listening to our capstone presentation. We would now like to share some images and music from Ghana.
Okay, thank you very much, Capstone Team Ghana. Next, our capstone team will focus on the impact of the monsoon season in central Vietnam, presented by Anaya White, who is an honor roll student at George Wythe High School, graduating this year, and also Loani Escalante Morello, a wonderful, hardworking student who thrives on academic challenges and who is looking forward to her senior year. Okay. Anaya, are you still with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Good morning. I am Anaya White and I am a senior at George Wythe High School. The title of our capstone project is Climate Information for Disaster.
Okay, I think Loanne may have had some technical difficulties as well. Anaya, if you could continue for her, that would be great.
Okay, our problem statement. Over the last 20 years, climate change has negatively impacted the agriculture sector, leading to a rise in hunger and the poverty level in Vietnam. The policy context for our capstone project is Vietnam is located on the eastern edge of Southeast Asia. Vietnam has a coastline of about 2,000 miles. The country is rapidly developing with a population of more than 98 million people. Policy formation is influenced by the monsoon season. The central Vietnam region has historically suffered the worst human infrastructure and economic tolls during the monsoon season, when storms and high floods displace already low income and vulnerable communities and destroy their homes and livelihoods. The traditional models of responding to disasters after the fact with relief aid are costly and unsustainable. The policy analysis focuses on Vietnam being highly vulnerable to the impacts of the climate change, such as rising sea levels, salt water affecting the soil, and increasing extreme weather events. This means that Vietnam faces the challenges of flooding, tropical cyclones, tsunamis, droughts, and earthquakes. These events contribute to the destruction of croplands and livestock, leading to rising hunger, food insecurity, and poverty. Research shows that 1 in 9 people on the planet go hungry for an extended period of time each year. Most are farmers and their children. Climate change makes these humanitarian and developed challenges worse. 80% of the world's agriculture is rain-fed, which means that the farmers don't have a sprinkle system and have to rely on the rain. This means that the agriculture production is very vulnerable to climate fluctuations. Man-made climate changes presents additional stressors for countries and communities that find it difficult to cope with the climate-related disasters. The policy implications in Vietnam had led to the emergence of programs like the Act Today Vietnam Project, which is an initiative of the International Research Institute on Climate and Society at Columbia University. Act Today works with Vietnam's lead climate and weather agency to increase its skills and capacity to provide climate information, tools, and services to support the agriculture sector's needs. The Act Today Vietnam project supports the country and addressing its needs to improve climate information and services to support disaster risk management. But there has been challenges as local farmers prefer to use a range of cultural practices and non-scientific traditional beliefs to predict and as the onset of the rainy season. These practices and strategies have been passed down through generations. These beliefs and practices have caused farmers to resist acceptance of scientifically derived data and methods to measure weather-related activity. Our recommendations: national governmental agencies in Vietnam to work with local governments and non-governmental agencies like Columbia University, International Research Institute, and Climate and Society to share information and devise plans to prevent losses before and during the flood season. Local government agencies to work with the others to watch for changes in the tides and to check and strengthen the dike systems, particularly in the high-risk areas ahead of the crop season. Collaborations with local farmers and encourage them to harvest their crops early to avoid floods. The improvement of
Güey, antes tenía mi cuerpo más hermoso, yo no sé.
Are you still there, Amaya? Anaya, are you still there?
Yes, I am. I said thank you. This is the end of our capstone project.
Okay, thank you very much. And that concludes our capstone presentation on climate change and climate restoration. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anaya. Thank you, Ghana team. Thank you, Vietnam team. Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Next up, we have Dr. Mylandra Coleman, a teacher at John Marshall High School.
Great morning, everyone. My name is Mylandra Coleman, and I bring you greetings from the joy and pride of Northside John Marshall High School. And yes. And I will say that because Dr. Lucas and Mr. Thomas did such a great job giving an overview of this wonderful program, which we have been allowed to pilot, I'm just going to say it is time now for our 3 capstone presentations. And I'm excited to say that all of our capstone presenters are seniors. So much for senioritis. All right. So our 3 groups today will be talking about increasing the number of Black doctors, Black male doctors in the United States. We'll be talking about undercounting in the US Census, and we'll also be looking at a Hampton housing project. And we will begin with Shantae Early, senior extraordinaire. Had the privilege of teaching her as a sophomore too. And she'll be talking about increasing the number of Black male doctors in the United States. Shantae, I will share the screen.
Can you guys hear me?
We can.
Okay, just making sure, you know.
Now, Shantae is, I'm sorry, the census. This
is I'm sorry. I meant Omar then. We're ready for Omar.
Yeah.
Sorry, Shantae. We're almost ready for you.
No, you're good. You know, I was ready to go, Coco.
I know you were.
All right. So good morning, people. My name is Omar Rivera, and I'm going to be presenting for you guys. I'm a senior at John Marshall High School. The title for our capstone project is Sealing the Cracks in the Pipeline, Increasing the Number of Black Male Doctors in the United States. Our capstone site is Create One, Your Life, Your Destiny Workforce Media Project. Our capstone site representative is Statford Armstead. And the members of our capstone team are Shantae Early, DeAndre Young, and me, Omar Rivera Santiago. Next slide, please. All right, there's a lack of Black male doctors in the United States. Since Black patients are more likely to experience discrimination and bias when receiving healthcare from non-Black doctors, it is better for a person to be taken care of by someone who understands them. Black doctors are needed to care for people of color. Research shows that people of color tend to feel more comfortable when being treated by someone who looks like them, by the US News. This also keeps Black patients from being treated unfairly. Next slide, please. Many Black families push boys into sports or another way out other than academics. In my high school, not many wanted to become doctors because of the time it takes and also the amount of money it costs to go to school for it. The Wealth Gap finds that the net worth of the average Black family is around 10% that of the average white family. This gives the Black community a disadvantage from the beginning, according to Forbes. Also, according to Forbes, it is very helpful for a person to have a family support system when the odds are against them. So how can we increase the numbers of Black doctors in the medical institutions? All right, according to a new Association of American Medical Colleges report titled Altering the Course, Black Males in Medicine, despite efforts by medical schools to increase diversity among applicants, the numbers for one demographic, Black men, have remained stagnant for nearly 40 years. In 1978, 1,410 Black men applied to the U.S. medical schools. In 2014, that number was 1,337. Policy regarding Black doctors has been reformed by the Society for Black Surgeons that provides support through mentorship, education, training, and development to build strong relationships for surgeons of color. SBAS offers access to resources and money so that medical students and doctors have the opportunity to enter their chosen medical profession or prepare for residencies. The National Black Nurses Association, NBNA, is a nonprofit organization that provides support for the Black nurses and ensures quality healthcare for patients of color. The organization aims to address underrepresentation in a profession that is the largest healthcare workforce in the world. The NBNA has moved into a position of national prominence in the healthcare and public policy arenas. National presidents are invited to participate in the discussion with our nation's top policy planners, representatives of the White House, the Office of Department of Health and Human Services, Congressional Black Caucus, Health Brain Trust, and the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute. Next slide, please. The AAMC is projecting a physician shortage between 54,100 and 139,000 physicians. About 2.6% of the nation's doctors in 2019 and 7.3% of the students enrolled in medical school in 2020 identified as Black or African American. Despite efforts to bolster the ranks of the Black doctors, the figure still lagged the 13% in the overall population. This graph shows that when compared to white males, more Black males have not earned their high school diploma or GED. More Black males have some college but no degree compared to whites. White males are more likely to hold associate's, bachelor's, and graduate's degrees compared to the Black males. The lack of educational attainment creates a barrier for the Black men to study medicine. Next slide. Thank you. All right. Policy recommendations. All right. One policy recommendation that we have is to ensure that more institutions support Black males and recognize their value in the resources should be directed to support Black males seeking to be in the medical field and improve retention. And one of the things I see is the Black males might start off interested in science and medicine, and then there's a significant drop off. I feel this is due to the lack of support. Next slide. All right. A lot of work needs to be done to seal the cracks that allow Black males to fall out of the medical profession pipeline. This research will be included in the Your Life, Your Destiny Healthcare Media Series coming 2021-2022. Thank you for your time. This concludes our capstone presentation.
Thank you so much, Omar. And this was also a two-time student of mine. I taught him for world history and then was privileged to teach him, more than 2 times, AP government and in policy pathways. So thank you so much, Omar. All right, and now, Shantae, it is your turn.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shantae Early, and I am a senior at John Marshall High School. My teammates are Devontae Scott, Deja Vault, and Kiata Johnson. Our capstone project is titled U.S. Census Data, the Implications of Persistent Undercounting of Communities of Color. Our capstone site is the City of Richmond, Office of Community Wealth Building. Our capstone site representatives are Dr. Patrick C. Graham, Senior Policy Advisor, and Yvette Roots, Social Enterprise Specialist. We appreciate the support of our teacher, Dr. Coco, and Faculty Advisor, Dr. Amanda Winterseek, Assistant Professor of Political Science at Virginia Commonwealth University. Data collected every 10 years from the U.S. Census is used to allocate more than $675 billion in federal funds that are used by state and local governments to fund necessary community projects like neighborhood improvements, public health, education, transportation, and so much more. The data also is used to determine the number of House of Representatives seats in each state. American Indian, Hispanic, and Black households are more likely to be undercounted in the U.S. Census. The high non-response rate by communities of color on the U.S. Census result in unequal distribution of federal funds for communities like Richmond with large minority populations and make it difficult for local governments to meet the policy needs of their citizens. A number of factors leads to undercounting communities of color, including a lack of knowledge about the census, misconceptions about its use, concerns about privacy and confidentiality, no time, lack of trust, and fear. Some people don't wish to be found. Others may have limited English or low literacy. Funding for public service is a top motivator for census participation. Yet, many people do not know that census is used to determine community funding. Householders think that funding for public services is the single most important reason to fill out that census. Schools, hospitals, fire departments, police departments, and roads and highways were identified as the most important public services. Census information that focused on the community were more popular motivators with younger, non-white, non-English speaking, and less educated people compared to those who were older, white, and English proficient. Community funding is the primary motivator of self-response. People are most interested in the role of the census in providing widely enjoyed public services. Community funding is a more compelling motivator when it is connected to 3 things. 1, information about the impact of the census. 2, tangible and local evidence of community benefits. And 3, the concept of a better future for the community. This chart shows that until 1990, compared to whites and Black, Hispanics were more likely to be undercounted in the US Census. After 1990, Blacks were more likely to be undercounted compared to whites and Hispanics. This chart shows that Black males, showing the light blue line, are more likely to be undercounted than all Blacks, non-Blacks in the total population. This map shows where the 2020 US Census undercount will do the most damage, with most undercounting occurring in the southern and southwestern parts of the United States. Our recommendations for decreasing undercounting of people of color in the US Census are to continue to spread the word that compelling the census helps communities to receive more funding for public services such as schools, hospitals, healthcare, fire departments, police departments, roads, highways, and increased civic education in middle and high schools. To share information on the allocation of seats in the House of Representatives and to increase civics education in middle and high school. My team really enjoyed learning about the U.S. Census this quarter, and we thank you for your time. This includes our capstone presentation. Go, John Marshall.
Woo! Yes, go, Shantae. Thank you so much. All right, now we have, I don't want to say the comedic team of Samuel Dawkins and James Godbold, but you may experience a little comic relief during this section. All right, Sam and James, we are ready for you.
All right. Good morning. My name is Samuel Dawkins. I'm a senior at John Marshall High School. The title of our capstone project is Understanding the Needs of HRHA Residents. Our capstone site is Hampton Redevelopment and Housing Authority. Our capstone site representative is Mr. Aru of Executive Director of HRHA. The members of our capstone team are James Gaba, Amelia John, Jasmine Glenn, myself, Samuel Dawkins. The topic I will be discussing is the needs of the Hampton Redevelopment and Housing Authority, aka HRHA, in Hampton, Virginia. The problem is people are low on income and people need affordable housing to be financially stable. Also, another thing is that many people are out of work with no income and they have 1,000 of people on a wait list to get housing. To solve this problem, they started a program called the Move to Work program that allows public housing authorities to promote self-efficacy to assist families.
All right, my name is James, aka Jimmy. An important component of our Move into Work program is the assessment of families being served by HRHA. The goal is to measure the capacity for independent living to connect them to services that can facilitate their progress toward the goal. Families living in housing units that are supported by HRHA fall under several categories: elderly, disabled, non-disabled, working age. All right. The purpose of the MTW program is to give public housing authorities, a HUD, the flexibility to design and test various approaches to providing and administrating housing assistance that accomplishes three primary goals: reduce and achieve greater cost efficiency in federal expenditures, give incentives to families with children, were the head of the household working to seek work for preparing the work by participating in training, educational programs, or progress that assists people to obtain employment and become economically self-sufficient and increase housing choices for low-income families.
Assessing the ability of the families supported by HRHA to move towards independent living will require gathering information on an array of variables which address many components of self-sufficiency. This can be done by developing a moving to work survey instrument.
Samuel, you're on mute.
This James part.
Yeah, my
It is
fault.
James, yes.
Jimmy missed this part. My fault. Missed my cue. The graph shows a gap in affordable housing in Richmond, Hampton Roads, and Northern Virginia. Because of this gap, low-income Virginians are paying too much for their housing. Among extremely low-income housing households, 87% are housing cost burden. Among very low-income renter households, 81% are housing cost burden, and 33% are severely cost burden. The highest housing cost burdens, 76% occurs among extremely low-income households in urbanized Northern Virginia. Since Virginia was thrust into a spotlight in the spring of 2018, housing is legal advocates have pushed for changes in laws to help reduce evictions and lessen the impact of evictions on affordable households. Successful statewide efforts include requiring writing leases, putting a cap on late fees, and requiring eviction orders to be expunged from records if the case is later dismissed and then tenated. Requests and expungement. Support policies to fund programs like the Move to Work program that help low-income families achieve economic self-sufficiency.
We recommend that the Hampton Redevelopment and Housing Authority, aka HRHA, to use to move the work survey data to learn about the needs of residents, other jobs, training, educational programs, or programs that assist people to obtain employment, to help income families to achieve self-sufficiency, and support families as they move from public housing to other housing options. Thank you for your time. This concludes our capstone presentation.
Well, thank you so much, Samuel and James, or Jimmy. I didn't know that's who you were, Jimmy, but nice to meet you too. Thank you, everyone.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Next, we have Mr. Ingo from Open High School.
Hello, everybody. I'm sorry I can't get my camera to come back on for some reason, but I am here fully engaged. My name is Chad Ingold. I teach at Open High School, and I am the teacher of the Real Richmond class there. And we have so many great projects come out of the class this year. So the first thing I want to do is put a link to a YouTube video of a collection of not all our presentations, but many of them that we couldn't fit in this presentation today. And the topics were from cemeteries to neighborhoods to music to clubs to, I mean, the students had a wide variety of interests. So if you can look at that later, it has it has information about which students did what on the YouTube page there. So they would love it if you take a look at that when you have time. And today I want to introduce two very good students we had from class. One is a first-year student and the other is a senior that will be leaving us this year. So I'll start with the first-year student, is Dublas Aviles, and he is going to tell us about the Order of the True Reformers. So hold on while I share that real quick. Blas, you ready?
Yeah. Hello. Hello, my name is Dublas Aviles, and I'm a freshman at Open High School. And today we're going to be talking about the Order of the True Reformers. Historical question. What influence did William Washington Brown and the Grand Founding of the United Order of True Reformers have on the African American community during the time of their existence? You should learn more about the true reformers and how they helped the African American community prevail during a time where African Americans had a lot of trouble finding ways to survive. How to survive during a time where Jim Crow laws were rampant. And this article called "The True Reformers Bank" by the Black Post, they talk about how the first African American bank was founded by William Washington Brown. It talks about the difficulties they faced before they had created a bank and how white people would try to prevent them from gathering money. It shows how long of a way African Americans have come to now owning 44 banks in the US, including credit unions. I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a start. Next, please. The true reformers had created their own bank because the white-ran banks wouldn't loan out money to them. They thought it was a bad investment and would say that they would probably lose money. The greater purpose of the grand fund of the true reformers was for the African American community to be independent and not rely on the whites for money or for the thing that always bothered William, needing their approval. And this photo here is when the bank opened in 1889, and this initially opened out of the Brown's home on 105 West Street on the Jacksonville Ward District. And on the first day, they collected $1,269.28. Next. Before the idea of creating a bank, William had planned to keep the money he and the reformers had raised with a white shopkeeper, but the racial tensions were high because of the lynching of a Richard Walker on May 1886. The shopkeeper told local whites that they were raising money and they were forced to disband. There was no equity during the time when William had founded the True Reformers Bank. And this is a article about when around that time when 3,436 people were lynched. And it is known that 70 African Americans were hanged in 1887. There were many articles and links to documents, but I only found 4 of them useful. I used the internet to find websites, and it all started when Chad introduced us to research topics, and I found the one of William Washington Brown very interesting. In the article, it talked about William and about the fraternal organization. It caught my eye because I really thought and still think that fraternal organizations are really interesting. And the link is to the article that gave me inspiration, and something that I could have had but couldn't was the 25 years history of the grand founding of the United Order of True Reformers from 1881 to 1905. And it was a book that could have helped me with more information. And there are currently 177 fraternal societies in Richmond, and they're on the decline. And here's a photo collage of the society, and here the top photo, top middle is when they were burying William. Yeah, next. Next, please. Facts about William Washington Brown and the True Reformers. He was elected Grand Worthy Master of the organization from January 11, 1881 to his death on December 17, 1897 at the age of 48. He joined the Union Army at the age of 15 in 1862, and the Grand United Order of the True Reformers started as a temperate society. The grand founding of the United Order of True Reformers brought the community together. Social implications. William and the fraternal organization helped the African American community become independent. William and the True Reformers made the African American community happier, and then this is a photo or an article about them having like a seaside park fair and them renting, selling homes for African Americans in the old days. Next. And these are my references and articles to my slides, and right here, if you ever have time, you can read my paper on them.
Boss, thank you very much. Thank you. That was great. All right, I hope everyone enjoyed that one about a well-known but little-known today organization, but that was certainly well-known when it was in existence. So you can watch out for DeBoz. He is a rising star at Open High School, and you'll certainly expect to see his name again. So next up is a leaving star of Open High School, Abena Williams, who is our valedictorian at Open High School. So give it up for her for that. She has plans to go to Norfolk State University, so she will be leaving us for NSU soon, but she certainly is going to come back and visit us all the time. And she did a work of historical fiction about the changing nature of the Jackson Ward neighborhood. And she is going to tell you about that now. Hold on one second. A little trouble. I'm not used to sharing the screen on Zoom. Here we go. You there, Abena? Can you see it?
Wait, now I can see it, yeah. Oh, hello, my name is Abner Williams. I'm a senior at Open High School, and this is my project titled Night and Day, which I did on the past of Jackson Ward, but also the present of it as well. Next slide, please. So my historical question was, what was the culture, demographics, and entertainment life of Jackson Ward in the past? And I also wanted to compare it to how it is now. And I chose this topic because I wanted to explore the topics of gentrification and how it is affecting Jackson Ward specifically, and to also expand my knowledge of Jackson Ward and also what was the Black middle class in Jackson Ward like back in that time. So what I knew about Jackson Ward before the project was I knew a little bit about the Black entrepreneurs in the area. Specifically, I knew a lot about Maggie Lena Walker and her bank and how it started off, but I didn't really know like a lot about the other different types of entrepreneurs in the area. And I also knew how it was a magnet neighborhood for African Americans, but I didn't know like what was the reason or like how it was and in what ways. So I wanted to like expand my knowledge of these two topics. And I also wanted to center the project about gentrification and how it is affecting the neighborhood. And so I looked at the definition of gentrification, which is defined as being a process in which a poor area of a city experiences an influx of middle class or wealthy people who renovate and rebuild homes and businesses, and which often results in an increase in property values and the displacement of earlier, usually poorer residents. And so when I was looking up specifically how gentrification was affecting Richmond, I found out that Richmond has a 16% gentrification rate, which is one of the highest in Virginia, only paired along with Virginia Beach. I also found out that the Black population of Richmond has like had a sharp decrease to like 45% from 1990 to 2010, while the white population has grew from 30% from 1990 to 2010. So I wanted to try like contextualize this in the neighborhood of Jackson Ward specifically as well. So I went about answering my research question by creating a short fiction story that's centered around a character who sees both the past and the present of Jackson Ward, where they're able to compare and contrast and see like the differences and how it's changed over time from where it's been. So most of my research I got was framed in the context in like the environment of Jackson Ward from around the early 1900s to 1950s, as well as 1990 to now in the present of 2021. So in most articles I found about Jackson Ward in the past, I learned how it was described as being the Black Harlem of the South, essentially, and how it was a hub of Black culture and economic wealth. Like I found out in the 1920s, there was a large abundance of doctors' offices, of lawyers, and other big businesses. In 1930s, it was also a hub of commercial business of shops, stores, barbers, salons. And like how it also was kind of like a Renaissance movement was also happening down here with Black people in Richmond, and not just in Harlem and in the North. It was also happening in places down in the South, which I found was very enlightening. And I also found like a lot of articles like that was written about in the 1950s about the construction of the interstate and how that affected the neighborhood and how that industry of the Richmond-Pittsburgh Turnpike, how that was very damaging in a way to the neighborhood. I found out that 10% of Jackson Ward's Black population left and were displaced because of that construction, which I found was very interesting. And articles I found about Jackson Ward and the present today was how gentrification has rapidly affected the neighborhood and how it's caused like the land values to go up so current residents can't afford it. I found that one statistic I found was that the median home value has gone up by 100,000 and how 19% of Jackson Ward residents have had to leave because of that influx of how they can't afford to live in the neighborhood anymore. And I found like very interesting implications from this project was like how construction and infrastructure were used to divide the neighborhood. And I feel like infrastructure can be as used to a way to displace and to create disruption in the neighborhood, like how it was used for Jackson Ward. It can often displace like the residents and displace the feel of the neighborhood, and how gentrification has caused the flight of long-term residents because they can't afford to live there. And also societal implication is how it is rapidly affecting cities all around the United States. Like this is not just happening in Richmond, gentrification is happening in lots of urban cities and affecting the residents. And so here's the excerpt of my short story, and this is my first paragraph, and my link is right there in the title. And so let me read it. This is the first introductory paragraph. Loud big band music was blaring through the air with the loud melodies of piano playing, mixed along with the roars of trumpets, trombones, saxophones, and incorporation of the thunderous strikes of cymbals and drums. Yet somehow the powerful but still gentle voice of a woman was able to overpower all the chaos of the instruments in the back. Her melodic voice ties everything together like a bow. It was a bustling Friday night in Jackson Ward with the sounds of swing filling the air all down 2nd Street, coming from the Hippodrome. I stood outside the establishment, looking at the bright lights shining from the sign while tapping my fingers in time with the music. I closed my eyes, letting myself become intertwined with how the music was making me feel at that moment. I saw myself being in the crowd with wide eyes, watching the spectacle in front of me, where I was part of an audience with much abundance in the amount of distinguished Black people. And so these are my resources, but I really loved doing this project. And I also liked learning about how Jackson Ward was such like a hub of Black culture and how it was, because I feel like we always think of Harlem.
I don't hear anything. Is that me, or do you all hear something?
Oh, could you hear me? Oh, now can you hear me?
Yeah,
Oh.
okay.
Okay, so I just said like how I feel like how Jackson Ward was also a magnet of down here in Richmond, and how this Renaissance wasn't only happening in Harlem, it was also happening here, which I feel like is very unique to our city. And I really loved researching about it. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much, Abena. That was fantastic. You can see why Abena is our valedictorian. So thank you all very much for that. I want to say thank you for everybody that went before. I especially like the Ghana one because I spent my junior year abroad at the University of Ghana. So that brought back some nice memories from quite a bit of time ago. So there is 2 of our presentations. We have plenty more quality ones. Again, if you go to the YouTube video that I put in the chat, you can see many more. And you can also find there a link to Abena's historical fiction in the video descriptions underneath. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's give a round of applause to all of our student presenters, our teachers who supported them, our administrators, our sponsors, our partners, without whom we could not have held this Capstone showcase today. And I'd just like to say that many of the students who presented today were extremely shy. They were nervous, very nervous, but you could not tell. And so everyone did an outstanding job. We have many sponsors and we have many partners who help to make this showcase a success. And we are actually finishing early, but we are here and Mr. Masiahu and I, if you have any questions for us, we would like to answer any questions that you might have. You can put them in the chat. These are questions about the Real Richmond course or the Policy Pathways course, or if you have questions for any of our teachers, please type them in the chat. But Dr. Epp is just giving a shout out to all of the students and the leadership at RPS. You are all superstars, and it is just wonderful, wonderful to be a part of such a momentous and historic event. And like I said, there will be many more. So let's see if there are any questions for us. Thank you, Dr. Coleman. Excellent job, everyone. If there are no questions, just thank you so much for joining us today. Many of our students will be graduating. They are seniors. Many are off to college. So we send our blessings with each and every one of you. And I'd now like to turn it over to Masiahu Israel to close us out.
Thank you, Dr. Lucas. First of all, just a great job, number one. I mean, we think about where we are coming through a pandemic, being in virtual learning all year, the stresses that come with that, and being in front of a screen, not being able to connect with people physically. I mean, this has been, a year and some change of some very challenging and difficult times. To be able to produce what you all have produced, for those who work together in teams, for the policy pathway groups, and for those students who worked individually for Real Richmond, I just want to thank you all, first of all, because for you to be willing to go in front of the world and share your research, this is the beginning of greatness for you. And I want you to know that we here at Richmond Public Schools are so ready to support you, not in just your current ventures, but what you will attempt to do going forward. So my contact information, your teachers have it. Feel free to reach out to me going forward. Remember, networking is the new capital. That's the new money. So we always want to continue to network and meet new people. The projects from Policy Pathways with the international connections, fantastic. That global connection is so important. The Real Richmond students who are working right here at home to look at the world around them, that is so important. So we got the micro and the macro level of research. This was just fantastic. I can't say that enough. Just really, really some good stuff. And I thank you all. Thank the teachers for your efforts, because I know it hasn't been easy for you to be in the virtual capacity, and for you also not to have the connections physically to your students. I know a lot of you really appreciate being there in person, and being able to put a hand on the shoulder in difficult times. So I want to commend you all as well. And just thankful to everybody that was a part of this today. We'll have copies of it up. Again, after this week, we'll be putting things up on www.growhistoryrps.com. So you'll be able to see some of the presentations. And so I'm just so excited about what this means for the future. And students, you really are stars. This is a great step towards your future. From everyone at RPS and from the history department, the history and social science department for RPS, we just want to continue to say to all of you, continue to support history and the social sciences. It's the key to being able to create pathways through research and policy and our knowledge of history. We can change the world. We can do the work that needs to be done in order to make our society, starting at home, a better place. Thank you all for watching, and all of you that are supporting in the audience. Have a great and wonderful afternoon. Grace and peace.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. We will run
Thank you. Thank you.
program and list all of our sponsors and all of our partners at the conclusion of the live stream. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hey.